What's up, everybody? It's Friday. It's the Nerd Dan.
Nerd.
What's up, guys? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday.
We got the Dusty, the Avery, and the Drew.
The one and only.
I just realized I left my water somewhere, so like I'm gonna have to go get something.
Go find your water. Get a cup. I already have a cup of coffee and a ginger ale.
That's good. I like that. I'll wait. I'll wait for a minute. And I'll go grab one. Hey, what's up? What's up, KG? How you doing?
What's up?
Missed you last night. I hope. Yeah, man. Missed you too, man. I hope you saw Dusty's freaking awesome mask that Avery got him.
His Batman cowl.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna just show it to you guys because
it came with a copy of The Dark Knight Returns.
It's literally the creepiest. It's the weirdest thing ever, dude. If I saw you at a bus stop, I would just go ahead and give you a quarter or $1. You could go get some food.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like I look like I'm ready to fight crime there.
No, man. We would be talking about like the latest My Little Pony comic or something.
Absolutely.
I went to BronyCon. Now, there's anything wrong with Brony?
That's Andrew. I think that's Andrew.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude! Such a good.
Have you had a chance to look through those comics more?
Not really. I kind of flipped through them a bit, but I haven't started reading. Probably tonight and then the weekend. The art looks really good so far, though, just from the little sneak peeks.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight Returns is one of my absolute favorite comics ever.
Yeah, I gave it to my neighbor and I haven't seen it since. The one that I've had since like high school. So I got to go get it because I'm like, motherfucker, that thing is a classic and I need it in my library.
Yeah, like I have.
I have two other versions of it, but not the actual version. Like I've got the Blanc Noir version over here.
Yes, I have that.
And then I've got the artist edition.
Yeah, I have the paperback I bought in high school of it. I have the black and white Blanc Noir like you have it, and I have one of those matte ones that comes with a mask that I bought for Dusty. And I wish I'd bought the hardback that came with the Blu-ray of the animated movie.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
I didn't pick it up and I should have bought it. And I want the artist edition. I don't have it, but I do want it.
I was checking the book out today.
Oh yeah,
so good, man.
It
makes me want to get the first volume.
Mm-hmm. I haven't found that one in Ollie's. I haven't seen it, but if it pops up, dude, I'll snatch it for you.
It just means that it actually sells.
It actually sold, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But The Dark Knight Returns is evergreen, but yet a bunch of them, the ones with that mask, popped up in Ollie's. What it was is, I think the mask actually worked against it because it was probably really expensive with that stupid mask.
Mm-hmm.
And people skipped it because they want the book.
Yeah.
Well, I have a copy of the Harley Quinn hardcover with the mask in it at the store. I've had it for years.
But I've seen those Batman, the mask, Dark Knight Returns, go through Ollie's in two different waves. One was over a couple years ago, because I still lived in Jacksonville, and then another wave of them hit recently. Yeah,
they get stuff so randomly. It seems like sometimes,
and they don't all get the same. They don't all get the same shit.
No, they don't.
Yeah, I need to call. We've got an Ollie's near. I've got one near me that I actually went in and they had nothing. Like they never even stocked comics. I was like, fuck. And then there's another one by this other place we go to once a week, and there's another Ollie's, and I'm tempted. I gotta call them because I'm absolutely dying to find out like what's up.
it's trash or treasure. You can go in there, once a week for a couple of months and find nothing. And then you'll walk in there one day and walk out with like $100, $200 worth of shit.
Yep.
Yeah, but they usually if they have comics, they usually have comics.
Yes.
Right. Like if the Ollie's doesn't have anything, then they probably don't carry comics ever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there's always a section, and like there's two I go to, one north of me and one south, one Valdosta, one in Tifton.
Yeah, I don't think they control what they get. They just get it. It's not like they order it. It just shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a dealer that I met at a show one time where their entire display was nothing but boxes and boxes of trades. And we were talking about it, and he sells them like at a discount and whatnot. And the more you buy, the better the discount you get. But he was like, we literally buy the box for like $5 a box.
Damn.
From Diamond when they're trying to get rid of stuff.
$5 a box of what? Trades
and graphic novels.
Jesus.
All different kinds.
And Diamond, just because Diamond has them in the warehouse.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And he said they don't get to choose which ones they're getting. They just buy a box, and it's filled with a variety of stuff. It could be a whole bunch of Dark Tower books or Stan books, or it could be a variety of Spider-Man books.
I would buy a box of that for $5. I know we don't.
Yeah, but you might get 15 of the same issue. But it's what they do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like I supposedly there's something very similar to that with Amazon. Like if you have an Amazon distribution warehouse near you, like if they get returns, they just pile them onto crates and they sell them. You can buy a crate of stuff. You don't know what's in there. But they were all returned items for some reason or other, where they either can't resell them or they're damaged or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a store in the flea market. I've never actually gone to it, but they get pallets from the Amazon warehouse down off of Ulta Drive.
Mm-hmm.
And they just, whatever's in there is what they sell. But they buy it for like dirt cheap. So.
That's amazing. I want to do that.
I watched a video the other day on a channel where a guy purchased a storage unit, and he was showing the video of what they showed. They didn't. You're not allowed to go look through the storage units. You see like a picture, or you get to look inside, and that's it. And he said he saw what looked like comic book boxes on the back. And so he bid on it, and he won. And it took him a couple of days to clear everything out, but he ended up getting like 6 small boxes and 2 long boxes of comics.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going through them, and he was pulling out stuff. And he actually had a New Mutants 98 in there.
Oh,
some other stuff. He's like, this one book was worth the entire thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wish that happened around here. I mean, the storage, the company that owns the flea market also owns the storage units combined with it. And they do auctions like every week, and it's usually on a Thursday. It's like, I can't take off of work and go, but it's one of those things where if you have the time and you have the money and you can invest it in some of that stuff, sometimes you can make out. Sometimes you make nothing. But no, like there was one guy who bought a store. He's a Spanish speaking guy, bought a storage unit, had comics in it, offered it to me. I came and looked at it. I made him an offer. He said it was way too low. It was so low he wouldn't even counter, which was fine. And then he rented a unit, and he was selling them 50 cents a piece. So I went in, and from time to time I'd go in and buy stuff. Pulled out the stuff I knew I could sell. I probably paid him close to $480 for everything I bought from him. Mm-hmm. I've already made back double my money, and I still have comics that I'm still selling.
Oh, awesome.
So I got the better deal because what I offered him was less than that. So, but there was probably a lot of stuff in there that went that I could have done better on.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever. I was happy with it.
That's cool.
Had he just sold it to me from the beginning, he probably would have made more money. But
yeah, I need to. I have this daydream of kind of doing what you do, Andrew. I have a daydream of like hitting Craigslist or some kind of like eBay or something in the state and just or the neighboring states and just finding like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get rid of a warehouse full of comics, and I'm like, yeah, let's go.
That's not usually where you get the good deals. It's the people who found a box or two in their attic or their storage and they know nothing about comics.
Mm-hmm.
So they bring them. Like I've got a couple who came by last weekend and they had a handful of comics and I showed them comicpriceguide.com. We went through it. Everything they brought me was cover price in the guide. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, they brought a whole bunch of issues of Guardians of the Galaxy, the Jim Valentino Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
A lot of those issues aren't worth anything except issue number 1, which is like a $40 book right now. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, listen, if you have issue number 1, that could be worth some money. But if you have all the other issues, you're looking at 50 cents a piece type book. So
I think I have issue 1.
Yeah, issue 1's I'm not sure if I'd consider it a hot book, but it's one that has value.
I don't want it. Let me see I'll see if I can find it. I don't give a shit about that. No. I just bought it at the time because it was a new number 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of us did.
If you saw a new number 1 from Marvel or DC, usually you picked it up.
Well, I had all those comics, man. I had a few 98 X-Force 98s, a few of the first Cable, because I liked the McFarlane LaFeld covers. So I had like a couple of copies of those, and then I had 98. I only had one copy of 98, but I mean, of course I did because it was LaFeld and it was X-Force.
Yeah, I was buying
New Mutants. I mean,
yeah, I bought those books, but when I got rid of a bunch of stuff, that time we sold stuff at the flea market, Todd.
Mm-hmm.
The Rob Liefeld New Mutants were part of what I sold.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I kept the other New Mutants, but I sold those because we had already gotten over Liefeld, and what else was in there was my Infinity Gauntlet stuff and my Silver Surfer stuff from that.
It's all the stuff you wish you're like, now you're just like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Infinity Gauntlet issues are all worth some money right now.
Yeah, it was Silver Surfer around that time period. The Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, all of it.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a great time to collect comics, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a fantastic time to collect comics.
Damn.
It sucks. And for years, New Mutants 98, dude, was in 50-cent bins for years. For a couple of decades. That was that book was in the 50-cent bin.
Yeah. There were a lot of books that were in the 50-cent bin that are now worth a lot of money. I mean, hell, Booster Gold number 1 is currently like $100 book right now.
What?
And we found because there's rumors of a movie coming out, and it was his first appearance.
That's insane.
So people are trying to find it in good copy, and there really isn't a lot out there because, like I said, 50-cent bins. But honestly, with pressing and cleaning abilities nowadays, you can find a really good copy, but you're going to pay money for it. So
we had all that stuff, man. Andrew, you had all of it. You had a whole bunch of shit.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of comics.
What did you do with yours? I mean, mine got like lifted.
When Jen got pregnant, I sold the majority of my collection. And the guy I sold it to is a guy that sold at the flea market. And he gave me a deposit on it and was supposed to give me more money later, and he never gave me any more money. And I never really cared. It wasn't that important to me. But then I started working at the comic book store, which meant I started buying stuff again and rebuilding my collection. But there was a time when the boss had announced to us that he was closing the store, and me and Jason and Dave, we were like, well, fuck it. If he's closing the store, we're going to take some books. And we like raided the back and took a whole bunch of books, all of which were worth nothing nowadays because it was just junk books. Mm-hmm. A whole bunch of Spawn in there, but Not the spawns that are really worth anything right now.
Mm.
The funny part about Spawn is everybody thinks the first issues are worth a whole bunch, and the first issue is, second issue maybe, but as it goes on, the issues were so widely produced that they're not worth anything.
Yeah.
It's the later issues in like the 160s where he started introducing new characters and the print run was really low. That those books are actually worth 20, 50, 75 bucks a piece because of how hard they are to find.
Mm-hmm.
So comics is a very weird and fickle market.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of people trying to charge around $50 for issue 1 of Spawn.
Oh yeah. Well, every time somebody mentions a movie, you know, whether it's going to happen or not, people get all excited, and you know, I actually in these boxes of comics picked up a couple of copies of Image First's Spawn #1, which
nice.
is the $1 reprint. Because I know people will buy those because some people just like to read them and check them out.
Yeah, I'm still like I think this year when I hit if I do Heroes Con, which I'm sure I will, or in New York, whatever. Like the next convention or two that I go to, I'm gonna like try to pick up. I don't have any spawns; they were all gone. So, like I'm gonna try to pick up like the first dozen or so issues.
Man,
I wouldn't mind getting those artist editions of that.
I want the artist editions of that for sure. Like I missed that one, and now they're like $500-600 a piece.
Yeah, they did 2 of them. One's the first 8 issues, and the next it's like, oh.
The more news stories I hear out of New York, I really don't want to go back.
Yeah.
I don't really care. Yeah. I mean, they've set a new precedent in the news. If you haven't heard, if you try to defend somebody who's being attacked or mugged or whatever,
I know
they're going to charge you and they're going to throw you in jail.
But that's not a new precedent. That's how it's been like that. It's been like that for years.
But this is now everybody in the world is knowing this. Don't go to New York. Just don't. It's not good for your health. Stay away is what they're telling people. You know? Yeah,
they're not doing a very good job up there.
I got several early issues of Firepower.
Oh, that's a good book.
Yeah, like issues 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I am loving this art.
Yeah, Somni's a fucking genius, dude. He's a really good, like he's phenomenal. And there's like 30 issues of that already.
I knew it was good. I just hadn't picked any up. I had a couple of the earlier issues, but it's a fantastic series.
Yeah, it's really good. Really good stuff.
Anything good stuff you picked up, Andrew?
A couple things I'm throwing your way just simply because I don't care about them and don't want them.
I got some shit I'm sending you because it's trash.
It's right. Actually, no. I got nice. Avery, you want me to show you a few things that I put aside just specifically for you?
Sure.
I showed you that Boris Karloff thing.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
I did pick you up a copy of the Conan.
The Conan. Nice.
Zombies vs. Robots Classics #1 by Ashley Wood.
Oh, cool! I have a trade of that.
What else? Oh, 3 out of the 6 issues of Batman Reptilian.
What is that?
Liam Sharp. Sharp did all the art. Cool. And I know you used to be a fan of his.
I like Liam Sharp,
but it's all painted stuff.
Oh, cool.
I mean,
hold on. Let me pin you. Hold on for a second. Hold on. Oh,
it's all painted stuff. So,
cool.
I mean, it's all good. And I figured you'd probably enjoy kicking these around. So I have 3 out of the 6.
What else did you pick up, man?
Nice.
A bunch of other stuff. I'm still going through it. I just got the bags in today, so I'm working on bagging and boarding this stuff because I was not going to have new comics into the store this weekend because of my BCW shipment problem with I personally blame Romel for. But
hey Andrew, is that your new press in the back there?
Yeah, it's sitting here right behind me.
That's
have you tried it yet?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I was just
tried
gonna
it.
ask, like, do you have a copy of something you could show? Because I'm dying to see it.
It's not going to make that much of a difference because you didn't see what it looked like before. But I think I showed you guys that copy of Amazing Spider-Man that I had that looked like it was that it was set out in the rain because it was all
Yeah.
water damaged.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've pressed it and it actually looks really good. I'm probably going to press it again, but
Well, show it to us.
pulling it out right now.
Oh, well, hold on.
It's
He's whipping it out.
it's not. I mean, it's much
Oh, wow.
flatter than it was before. I mean, there's
Yeah.
still some stuff that I can try to repress and try to get out, but it's got some staple damage. Like if you look close, there's some staining around the staples, and it's stained inside the book. So it's not. This is not going to come out to be like a near mint
Oh yeah.
8.0.
Look how good that looks.
It'll probably be a 4, maybe a 5, but it originally was like a 1. So
That's amazing.
I'm think I'm going to get it graded just to have it put in a slab, just because I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's a John Romita Sr., right? You opened up, you flashed the artwork on screen, and it's either Gil Kane or John Romita Sr., and it looked like John Romita
It's
Sr.
not-
from the Flash.
It's not Gil Kane. It's yeah, John Romita. John Romita.
Boom! What?
Yep.
Booyah!
And it was backwards and like upside down.
Yep.
John Romita Sr. Spider-Man is
It's literally a comic that looked like it came out of the trash. You know, so if I can get it graded and it comes up anything
Dude,
better
guys.
then it was a success, you
Am
know.
I late? Am I late?
you're
What's up,
late.
Zach? How you doing, man?
I thought we were supposed to.
Well, no, you got here right on time. It's 8:30.
Oh, it says let's just live 22. I didn't know you started. I thought that. Never mind. I don't know.
It's
Dusty,
supposed to be
is
8
that-
o'clock, but I don't know what I'm doing apparently.
Dusty made a mistake. If it makes you feel any better, Zach, Melissa was like, I was like, the kids were acting up, or Julie, one of them was acting up, and Melissa was like, I was like, well, I gotta go, and she's like, wait, what? Why are you leaving? Like, it doesn't start for another 30 minutes. I was like, no, it starts at 8. She's like, what do you mean it starts at 8? I said, well, Thursday is 8:30 and Friday is 8. She's like, why is it on 2 different times? I was like, I don't know. Like, we used to have it at the same time, and it just got fucked up, and we just kept it that way. And she was like, well, I think it's 8:30 tonight. I was like, no. And then she showed me the post in Discord, I guess. And sure enough, it said 8:30.
All right.
And,
Hey, so listen. Something we forgot to discuss yesterday. Which is what's the next project? Creative project. Aside from the game. We got the book the book's almost done. I mean, I should have it to you by early next week. We did the first comic.
well, we have some good plans, dude, but we can't talk about them publicly.
Yeah, we can't talk about it live.
Oh, all right. So let's talk about it. No more.
We'll talk about it in the green room.
All right.
But welcome.
All right. Never mind.
And yes, we're doing more.
So in other words, just wait for Avery to start throwing out some ideas and have both Todd and Dusty go, ew, don't say that.
Yeah.
How many times
See,
is that?
KG is like, oh, come on.
Yeah, I've been given specific instructions not to talk about my ideas out loud.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because
They're so good, everybody wants them.
Well, they are good ideas, and people. People. I mean, I know present company on this call excluded, of course, but some people don't really they don't really understand that a lot of times when we talk about stuff, it involves what ifs, what if we did this, or what if we did people sometimes take what ifs as 100%. And so if we just start talking about what if this, what if that, people start thinking, I mean, certain people, not, again, present company on this call excluded, of course, but there are people who are like, oh, they're doing all this stuff. And they're like, well, I mean, we talked about it, but we gotta talk about it.
Yeah.
It's one of the only problems. It's like It's one of the problems with like
being this open.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like we're really open, which is awesome. But it's also a challenge because, like, you know, some people aren't used to that, and they don't really know how production happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so you don't want to give a false impression, but you also want to be as open as possible. So it is a challenge. It's one of the things I love about the space is like how you know, I think we do more and we are more open with pretty much everything we're doing than I think a lot of projects.
Yeah.
That I've ever seen anyway. I mean, maybe I am biased.
Because there's 2 other concepts already created that we did live. You know, the 344 story. That's planned out and just needs to be refined. What? We did that live.
I know.
We did that live.
Fuck it, we did it live.
That's on this channel.
I know. This is great. Wait.
Avery, do you have any idea how hard it was for Todd to go back and edit every single one of those live streams to remove all reference to that story?
You have no idea.
No. Shut up.
No, I didn't. Of course I didn't do that shit.
Do you guys remember how many times I did a live stream on my channel where I literally afterwards had to take the damn thing down, edit it, and repost it because it was such a good live stream, but you guys fucked it up by talking?
Well, here's what I'm going to interject because I am curious about this. Dusty, how did you create the soundboard and what's on your soundboard, sir?
I just found a random program and I just installed it immediately before the live stream. You can add on all kinds of custom sounds, but it's just got some generic stuff right now. But probably by next week, it's going to be popping.
It sounds pretty good. And so KG, he came on wearing the Batman hat, the Batman mask, and like did a voice simulation. It was freaking hilarious. And then he couldn't turn it off, which was even better. There was a good I don't know, 5 minutes or so where Batman was freaking out because of his voice. Yeah, this is gonna be good. We're gonna have to get some like game sounds, like some coin drop sounds, some other things to use for like lore games, and then like fumbles, and this is gonna be great. Zach, what do you think about using a soundboard for all this stuff? KG says figures the one show I miss.
Well,
Dude.
I have no objections. Although I can see ways this particular crew might use it. You might use it for abuse, but then again, that's part of the charm.
Yeah, it is. It's charming. It's a charming thing.
Dusty would never abuse any of us.
Oh.
Batman, on the other hand, Batman would fuck us up.
Yeah, Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Where is Romel?
I don't know. He said he was going to try to show up. I always figure he just has more of a social life than we do.
Yeah, it is Friday night.
Yeah, I figured he's on the prowl or whatever he does.
Run from the cops.
Yeah. I figure he's always doing stuff. So. But
What?
So what else is going on? I want to know. So oh, by the way, KG, because you weren't here yesterday. Avery, was that comic book of yours out?
What?
The one you
Came on
sent
Wednesday?
Dustin on.
Yeah. That's out. Came out and gone.
Oh, it's already sold out.
I mean, you might be able to get it off of Alternative's website.
So Avery's got a new book out. He didn't do the cover. He's got a story in here. It's called,
also part of the story for the Raid of the White Leopard that's in funding now on Fund My
Oh, there you
Comic.
go. That's what we should point people to, right?
Yeah. Fund My Comic. Raid of the White Leopard, which reached its funding goal.
Great.
Oh, excellent.
Awesome.
So that happened. So hopefully he'll post the rest of the sketch cards I did. He posted like the worst one. It's sold, but it's like that's the worst one. Post the others; they're better.
That's always the way, though, man.
Yeah, post the other sketch cards I sent you. They're much better than that one.
Some I've been doing recently. At least earlier today, just out of pure boredom. When I'm trying not to work, is taking trips down memory lane when it comes to trashy sci-fi TV.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, that was in which case it was cast your eyes back to 1996, sophomore year in college, mid 90s, the best decade ever, at least in my opinion. Although at the time I thought it sucked. Hercules, The Legendary Journey, Xena, Warrior Princess, Sinbad the Sailor, starring Bruce Campbell, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., Bruce Campbell, anything with Bruce Campbell, and Cleopatra 2525. If you know, and also there was also a very briefly a Conan the Barbarian TV series, all on a little network called UPN, which may rest in peace.
UPN.
Yeah. So basically, what I remember is that in the 90s, early 2000s, there was this trend where.
Why do I remember UPN?
Like early to mid afternoon, they'd have like these really cheesy half-hour fantasy sci-fi shows, like ultra low budget. It was basically like anything with Kevin Sorbo and actually Gina Rodriguez, actually, before she got famous on Firefly, as like warriors and spacemen and that sort of thing. And then no one knows what the hell I'm talking about.
No, I mean I know a little bit about it. I
remember some of it.
The stuff that I watched was a little different. Like it was a little and I like trying to get into that stuff. I've seen so much, but I don't remember like the names or the titles or anything.
Well, that's the thing is because what happened was, I think my sophomore year in college, someone on my floor broke into the closet on the floor that turned on and off everyone's cable, and basically gave everybody on the floor free cable for like an entire semester, and before the cable company finally caught on to it. So we were all binging on this stuff, and I remember this because I remember I was rewatching a show called Kindred the Embraced, and. I won't be surprised if you've never heard of it. It was actually a vampire show done by Aaron Spelling.
Really?
That Aaron Spelling.
Yeah, it was based on the White Wolf stuff.
Yeah. He bought
really
the rights to Vampire the Masquerade and when it came out in 1995 and made a TV show based on it. It was actually pretty good. It starred C. Thomas Howell, and you can find it here and there. It's obviously it's obviously like it's 1990s TV, so it's not like primo acting, but it's actually pretty good. And I've been rewatching it, and I've also been rewatching Farscape, which came out a little bit later. And
Jim Henson.
Yeah, that show's actually aged pretty well, I think. I mean, it's like it's got the kind of effects that that don't really because like old-fashioned CGI, for example, doesn't really age very well because it's obviously like old. It's obviously like primitive, but like robotic puppets are robotic puppets no matter what area you're in.
Farscape was done by Jim Henson's kids. They took over his company after he died.
It was an Australian show, and it's interesting. I'm just waiting for that to get rebooted because they reboot everything else nowadays.
That show never got the ending it needed. They did that movie afterwards. But it's still.
Yeah. I mean, Ben Browder's been in a lot of stuff since then, so who knows? And and the funny thing is, the lady who played the bald blue alien in that one, she was also in Mad Max: The Road Warrior.
Really? Man, this is where your knowledge kicks in because I have no.
And Claudia Black was in that.
She's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but she the Riddick movie. What was that one?
Pitch Black.
Pitch Black. She was in Pitch Black.
Yeah.
She was in Queen of the Damned.
Mm-hmm.
She was she was in the later some of the later seasons for Stargate SG-1.
Yeah.
And she was also she was also the voice of several of the characters in the Uncharted games. So she's been in a lot of stuff.
Wow. Was she like a scream queen kind of thing?
No, she was just a B movie actress who
she's basically an Aussie character actor. She's a character actor. Plays specializes in playing action women. She's still around, but not so much nowadays.
Yeah, she was pretty hot though back then.
Oh yeah, she was. Yeah. And I don't know. It's like this is back when Sci-Fi was still called the Sci-Fi Channel, not like Sci-Fi.
Sci-Fi? Yeah, we call it Sci-Fi.
Yeah, syphilis. It'll give you syphilis.
Are they still around? Are they still doing stuff? I haven't watched that.
I think they are. I don't know. I haven't watched it in a long time.
Yeah.
I think it's like now that I don't have cable, so I don't know, but I think it's like wrapped up in a bundle with like HD TV, like whatever you get that stuff. You know what I mean? Like you get like one of those bundles.
Yeah, I know. I mean, so I remember there was some. Like I remember the year before I moved to the city, and after I left Connecticut, I just stopped watching cable because I was I cut the cord pretty early. They were doing a show called Defiance. I don't know if you remember that. And the whole thing about the show is that this is when like World of Warcraft just had first come out, and like MMOs were like the big thing in gaming. Like everybody in their proverbial grandmother was setting up a multiplayer online role playing game. So the idea behind Defiance is that the show would coincide with an MMO, and things that happen in the MMO will be reflected in the show. Unfortunately, they could never make it work, and it shut down after a couple of years. But it was an interesting concept, and I know that because the people who did the Matrix, when they did the Matrix sequels in the late '90s, this is like the first generation of MMOs. Like everyone when EverQuest first came out, and believe it or not, you can actually still play the original EverQuest on like some out there. It's on a legacy server somewhere. Well, they after Matrix Revolutions came out or Resurrections, whatever it was called, they set up an MMO for it. And the whole idea was that the story of the Matrix would continue in the MMO, in the online game, but it just never really worked out. I mean, the problem is that the tech could meet their ambitions, I guess, at that time. It was like late '90s, early 2000s. Plus, let's be honest, the Matrix sequels kind of sucked.
Yeah, the Matrix sequels. I mean. It's weird, man. Like the first Matrix, I feel is like quickly becoming a documentary.
Yeah.
and the Matrix 2, 3, and whatever. Like I'm like, whatever. Like that, they were just terrible. I don't know how they tapped into the source for that first movie because it was a cool sci-fi movie, and now we're like it's just pretty much all like again, it's basically just a documentary with cool imagery.
Well, I think the one they did last year, I think it was the proverbial they parked the proverbial dump truck full of money in front of Lana Wachowski's house, and Wachowskis haven't really had a hit since the Matrix. I mean, they've done a bunch of others. They did Bound, which was kind of a staple on late night cable for years, for obvious reasons. And they did, and then after the Matrix, they did Speed Racer, which didn't really work. I'm sorry, but like live action American adaptations of animes really just don't work. People have tried to do it. Every time they do, it just sucks.
Battle Angel Alita's good.
Well, yeah, but Battle Angel Alita was with CGI, so. I refuse. I absolutely refuse, as a matter of national pride, even though I'm barely Japanese as it is, to watch the live action version of Cowboy Bebop. I mean, I am fairly certain if I did that, I would throw my TV out the window.
I hear it's pretty awful. It looks awful.
It looks really awful.
I should go find it, but I read an article from some millennial that does movie reviews for some website, and they listed out the 10 movies they refuse to ever watch or review. And I'm like, why? And I read the list, and like I knew 7 of the movies, but it included stuff like The Sixth Sense.
Why would you not want to watch those movies?
Because they know how it ends. And they put all these reasons why they didn't want to watch these movies, and I'm like, that's like saying I don't want to watch something that's known as a classic because I'm just too good for that.
Because I read the Wikipedia.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that kind of article is the sort of thing someone has to write when they're basically told when they're basically told by their boss, you have a quota to meet, pump some shit out, and put it on there for the clicks.
Yeah,
He just probably like grabs like 10 random titles and slapped it on there and said done.
I'm pretty sure it was a girl, and I'm pretty sure it was for like the Daily Sue or the Mary Sue or something.
Yeah,
I don't know why Google gives me crap like that, but from time to time I click on them.
A lot of those business sites are now going out of business. I mean, Vice is about to declare. Well, actually, no, they're about to get bought by George Soros, so they're going to go from being they're going from one prop. Well, not going to get political on this, but a lot of those places are going out of business now. So, the new media churn is the new media apocalypse is hitting us.
YouTube's the way to go. Until it's gone.
Or Rumble, but I can't get in the Rumble. I've tried, but I actually don't watch political stuff on YouTube. I just watch nature documentaries. I've been binge watching, BBC nature clips about whales and seals, and I spent the entire afternoon watching clips about, worms living on the bottom of the ocean. I don't know what it is. Like David Attenborough's voice is just, I don't know. It's that British voice, just so seductive. He can talk about the sex life of a polychaete worm living by an underwater brine pool, and it just sounds so soothing.
That's just so strange. You're not wrong.
Yeah,
you're not wrong.
All right.
Oh, God. Oh my God.
Anyway, aside from that, I don't know. I mean, look, unfortunately, my long-term gaming group basically disintegrated last weekend because the DM had to start working weekends. So I am now, for the first time in about 2 years, D&D free.
Really, D&D free?
D&D free. Yes, I'm
not. Why?
I'm not in a role. I'm not in a game.
Just told you. Were you not listening?
No.
His DM had to work weekends, so it's not available anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you were DM. I mean, yeah, I know, I heard that, but weren't you DMing a game too?
Yeah, that got shut down about 6 months ago because people kept calling out, and honestly, I was getting so burned out, I just stopped caring.
Oh, okay.
I'm probably gonna take a break for a couple of weeks. Gonna go fishing tomorrow. We're getting into the hot season in Florida now, so it's like all of a sudden, like everyone walking on A1As is in a bikini or pretty close to it. Not because they want to, but because they have to, because it's really hot and really muggy out there right now. And that's just the men, by the way. Hey, Andrew knows what I'm talking about.
I see why you don't want to move.
Is that true?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
You're a fellow Floridian, so you should know what the heat's like. Although you are in Jacksonville. So.
Well, you know what I do during those days?
What?
I stay in the house and don't go out.
I never take my hoodie off.
Well, I don't know. It's we have the next week is the big Welcome to Rockville Festival in Daytona. It used to be in Jacksonville. They moved it down to the Daytona Speedway. You know, and if I was 20 years younger and I had $300 to spend, I might just go to that. But I am now I'm now happily becoming a crotchety old man. And I realize that a 3-day rock festival for me, it just means overpriced water, mosh pits that I dislike, and mosquito bites. So many mosquito bites.
Yeah, I hate mosquitoes.
I hate mosh pits.
Well, mosh pits are okay. I wouldn't go in one.
No, it's. Did I ever tell you?
Yeah, we're about 30 years too old for the mosh pit.
Did I ever tell you? Did I ever tell you my clutch mosh pit story from New York?
No.
All right, so this is back when I was. This is like back when I was living in the cities. Actually, I think right around the time I met you and the other Matts. So just so for a record, I moved from Connecticut to New York City in the same year that in 2012 thereabouts, and I met Todd about maybe a year later. After that, a year or two later. Long story. So I go see Clutch, which is like one of my favorite bands. I mean, they're like probably the best American rock band out there. You know, with them and the Sword. But at least in my opinion. And it's at Pier 7, which is like it's a pier on Manhattan, but they turn it into a club, and it's one of those clubs where there's a big open floor, and there's tiered seating on the side. There's like tiers, and I was standing on the tiers because, you know, it's Clutch, and it's Clutch, and their pits get absolutely insane, and I don't want to get my nose broke. So I'm up there, and they're out there, they're doing their thing. I'm watching Fallon, Dave Fallon doing like rocking it out, and I'm having a good old time. And there are these two girls up in the front. They're obviously like trying to get the band's attention. They're like dressed like halter tops, tight jeans. They're hugging the rail, and they're like dancing on the rail, you know, swinging back and forth, you know, like in an old fashioned rock video. Only problem is that they're at a Clutch show, and they're in the front of the rail, which is where and there's like a massive pit breaks out behind them. So these girls are like twerking on the rail, and all of a sudden they're like thrown forward. There's like two dozen guys wailing on each other, and these girls are holding on for dear life, and they're like they're no longer trying to get backstage. They're just trying to avoid getting their heads crushed.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Then this massive. Then there's always that big fat guy, you know, like the big 6 foot tall, like 6 foot tall fat guy, who gets really into it. He starts crowd surfing. I don't know how he persuades all these guys, the people in the pit, to lift them up. This guy must weigh about 300 pounds. And I swear, I see the people. Hold on, I'm going to turn my camera on because I'm like using my hands here. Okay, you see me?
Yeah. Kind of.
I see all the guys. I see like all these people in the pit. They're straining to hold this guy up because he's like 350 pounds. He's like really fat and really, really fucking drunk. And they lift him up, and they're carrying him. They're like passing him one from another, while the singer's like singing, I think, DC Sound Attack. And the people in the pit, they're like, I can't hold this guy. This fucker weighs so much. But they get him to the front, and right where the girls are standing, they drop him on the girls. And he rolls over into the pit beyond, and the bouncers that pick him up and drag him out. And the girls, they get back up. You know, they're okay. They're not dead, which is good. And I see the bouncers.
They're not dead, which is good.
And I see the bouncers go over, and they check and see if they're okay. One of the bouncers, he's like wearing like a light blue shirt. The girl is touching the front of her face. She puts her hand on the bouncer's shirt, and when it takes it away, there's a big bloody handprint on there.
Oh.
And they lift the girls over and they carry them backstage. So I guess they got what they wanted.
They got what they wanted? Is that what the moral of the story was?
They got what they wanted. So there's that.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Although maybe not at the price they wanted to pay.
Well, you never know. I mean, maybe it got them to meet the band.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh man, yeah, it's worth meeting a fan if they got their face smashed in by a big drunk fat dude at the show.
Fat guy.
Yeah. See, that's the thing.
That guy.
There's always that one fat drunk asshole who's always trying to start a pit at the most slowing show. I
feel personally attacked by this.
Sorry, Avery. No, I mean, look,
Avery, I'm waiting for him to say, if you don't see the big fat guy at the show, it's you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, or it's usually me, but I don't do that. I'm one of those guys who just stands at the back and nods his head. But no, I was at this one band. It was like I think the band was called Coven. They're kind of like this weird kind of psychedelic occult rock band. Not very heavy, very slow, very psychedelic, kind of like Dorsey, but with like a with a Stevie Nicks style singer. And it was the kind of movie you kind of some moves you groove. This is at the Hammerstein, I think. And no, it was like Gramercy Hall. And there's this one guy. He's just wailing. He's like this 6 foot tall dude, almost as broad as he is tall, drunk off his ass. He's just bouncing into people, trying to start a pit. And nobody's giving him the time of day. It was like the saddest thing I've ever seen. It's like this guy's like trying to get people to mosh.
That's sad because no one would mosh with him.
No, people were like ignoring him basically.
Well, maybe it could be a good thing. I don't know.
No, but that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing. I'm not a fan of mosh pits. I think they ruin shows, and they break the noses of pretty girls.
That was my favorite song in high school.
What?
My favorite metal song title: "Break the Nose of Pretty Girls."
Who sings it?
No. I'm making that up.
Wow.
Oh man! Oh, you remember in high school we went to Anthrax, White Zombie.
I was just talking about that. It was me and you, and who else went?
Kevin Nygaard was there.
Kevin Nygaard, right? Okay.
I think some other people were there too.
What year was this?
Sound of White Noise, when that album came out from Anthrax, when they had that singer.
It was the only thing I remember was pre White Zombie, because they were
White Zombie. It was pre just Rob Zombie.
Yeah, it was White Zombie, but they hadn't released their first record yet.
No, they had. It's that one with 1965 and
yeah, but that hadn't come out. Like I remember him specifically saying, "Hey, we're White Zombie. Our record comes out like next week, so you haven't heard any of this."
So it was before More Human Than Human.
Yeah, it was the very first record, and they blew the doors off. I mean, in my opinion, anyway.
They were great
than Anthrax. Right.
I didn't like that singer for Anthrax. There's some songs I like on that album.
Right. He was a little.
But I like the original dude.
Yeah, I do too. I'm with you on that one. Like, I mean, he was, he just was too singy, right? Like,
yeah.
They made it like, I don't know. I wish I remembered his name. I don't, but
I don't either. But it wasn't like Got the Time and I'm the Man. Like hearing him do some of those songs, that's kind of like, what?
Yeah.
What? But it was good. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine.
But yeah, dude, White Zombie was.
White Zombie was fire.
They were awesome. Yeah. It's weird. I didn't know this, by the way. You know that character, Negasonic Teenage Warhead?
Yep.
Yeah.
I did not know that that the character that was based on a song by Monster Magnet. And now that's now that song is actually my workout. It's actually my gym mix.
I didn't either, because I only listened to Monster Magnet very briefly. Like there was one album of theirs. Like,
well, there was
the first album. The first album was really good.
Yeah, that's probably the one I had.
KG says he still listens to White Zombie. Yeah, my oldest, she's 6. Her favorite song is Dragula. Nice. I've tried to get her to other songs from White Zombie, but no, it's just Dragula. She just loves Dragula.
It is pretty catchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
My daughter's favorite song as a kid was Barbara Ann by the Beach Boys.
Oh. Well, you know, there's a generation difference between your kid and mine. So
Well,
Yeah, I know.
couple generations.
Plus a radically different taste in music with the parents.
This is true. This is true. You know,
Todd, did you listen to that thing I sent you today?
I did. Yeah. That was
Yeah, the
really
John
interesting.
Candy.
guys,
I like it.
Guys, I have to step away for a second. Be right back.
No worries. KG says Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax, 80s and early 90s metal was the best.
I love all
100%.
that stuff still.
Dude, KG. All right, I'll repeat this since you weren't here yesterday, man. And you know, I'm sure there's people listening that didn't see yesterday's show. But this past weekend was really fascinating. It was really interesting. I got a text from Flint, and he started texting. He was at a Mastodon and Gojira show. And the interesting thing about Flint and I is that Flint likes Gojira, loves one of his favorite bands, and Mastodon's one of my favorite bands. I mean, I listened to them when they first came out in Atlanta, and I don't know, when Mastodon first came out, their first few albums, I would always heard them, and I was like, yeah, they're pretty cool. I really liked it. It was all right, but I wasn't a super fan. But as they've gotten older, and they've just gotten better and better and better and better, and now I'm just like, they're the fucking best. And so he was all excited about Gojira. I had actually been looking at the show because they're doing a tour, because I've never seen Mastodon, and I was just kind of daydreaming about it. And so when he sent me the pictures from the show, I was like, you got to be kidding me. And so he basically egged me on to you got to go, you guys got to go, you got to do it, just fuck it and just do it. And basically, long story short, Melissa was like, well, yeah, we can make this an early Father's Day present if you want. And I was like, hell yeah, are you serious? So we hopped in the car, took the kids to the grandparents' house, and then drove over to Asheville and saw the show. We spent the night over there because we're not driving back at 3 a.m. or whatever. So got a hotel for a night, had a nice dinner, and saw this freaking awesome show, and then came back the next day. And man, both those bands, phenomenal. I would absolutely see that tour again. Just the stadium sound was crazy. It was so good. And the craziest thing, KG, was it was almost a joke because the fathers, because there's all ages, but a lot of the fathers were there with their kids, and all the dads were, of course, my age, and they had Metallica, they had Megadeth shirts on. Testament shirts. I saw Mudhoney, and weird alternative bands from back in the day, and then the kids were all wearing Gojira and all the kind of the new metal stuff. But basically all the dads were wearing shirts that I recognized, and I was like, some weren't even metal shirts; they were just other bands. I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. Yeah. It was awesome, man. And the weirdest thing, and maybe it was just the show I was at, I don't know, but everyone was so freaking nice and polite. It was the weirdest thing because all these full decked out tattoos, and everyone's like, pardon me, excuse me, oh, how are you, how's your evening tonight? Yeah, it's excellent. People shaking hands, the guys in front of us, because it was we were in the seating. I was not going to be in the pit standing up, certainly not Melissa either. So we were in the stands and the seats, and the guys in front of us were standing. And one of the guys turns around and was like, hey, is it okay if we stand? We really like the band, and we really want to just stand up, and we're not blocking you, are we? And if we are, just let us know and we'll sit down. And we're like, no, man, go for it. Whatever, fine. And it was ironic, kind of that whole judging a book by its cover thing, because it was probably the most polite show I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Even the mosh pit looked polite. People were kind of running and kind of pushing, but it wasn't back when we were kids where people were throwing foreheads into people's noses and shit.
Yeah, dude, it was different.
Yeah, a mosh pit when we were kids was basically a fucking octagon fight ring.
Yeah, dude.
This was just people running in circle and patting each other on the back and headbanging, and I was well, that's really sweet.
In the 80s and 90s, it was nothing to see people leaving a mosh pit just bloody.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, KG says all these old metalheads still hitting shows, love it now with their kids. Yeah, it was wicked, man. And I do have to say, I can't front. most of the older guys my age, like men and women that are our age, KG, like they were the ones wearing the Mastodon shirts. definitely a little on the older side, but just more experienced, given the young bucks like at what for and how to handle a mosh pit. The only difference really is that now the crowd has phones, right? So you can go on YouTube like right now, and if you could look at the Mastodon Asheville show, you'll see like someone recorded a couple songs or whatever, it was dope. KG says mosh pits were awesome though. Yeah, they were. I did a couple, but not really because I never wanted to get my face bashed in. Something about something about being in the 90s and having the aura of a Star of David in a mosh pit is probably.
There used to be a lot of skinheads act like not what people like. Oh my God, they're a neo Mitzi. Like no, actual. The real ones, the ones that are dangerous.
Something about my polite demeanor, curly hair, and longer nose than normal probably would have.
Oh shit! It's been forever since I've been to a show. I think the last show I went to was In This Moment for the Blood album.
No, yeah, wow.
And I've seen them like 3 times. They're phenomenal.
I'll say it's different, man. Like I was saying this yesterday too. Like when growing up, like White Zombie was a phenomenal show because they were super tight live. Yeah. But most bands that I've seen I've seen a shit ton. Like the record or the CD or the MP3 is always the best version, and then when they're live, it's it's a live show, so it's not going to sound like the CD, right? Or the MP3 or whatever. There was I went to a Flaming Lips show where it sounded exactly like the CD because they did some really cool early tech stuff I'll tell you about. But like most of the time it's not that. And so I'll tell you the Flaming Lips thing. Went to the show Flaming Lips in Atlanta, and it was the Soft Bulletin album, which is, if you haven't heard the Soft Bulletin, it's a fucking awesome album. It's classic. And when you walked in, they were handing out AM/FM receivers, like radios, AM/FM radios with headphones, and they were just like, put it on and dial in. And they were telling you they said you got to go to station 92.3 or whatever. Like, all right, well, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Basically what they did, I've never seen anyone else do this. It was the coolest shit ever. You would go in and they're playing, as they played live, they had a guy live mixing it, and they had rented out a radio channel. So you're sitting there listening to like 92.3 or whatever the station is, and you're hearing the song in real time mixed as a CD, as clear as a CD. So it sounds like the record. It was the craziest thing I'd ever heard.
That is wild.
It was wild, and you're like, you're hearing this perfect song, and then you take it off, and you're putting it back on, and you're like, holy crap! It was amazing. And but anyway, one of the reasons it was like that though is because at the time people made their money on the records. Right. So, of course, the records are going to sound better. Well, nowadays, the records still sound good because you got to have the song sound good. But people make their money at the shows. Like the bands make 99% of their entire income from ticket sales and merch sales. Right. Yeah. You're not getting any money from iTunes and Spotify. You got to have hundreds of millions of plays to get paid. So or tens of millions anyway. So so I think what a lot of these bands have done, at least with these 2 that I saw, I was like, it really was significant, was the songs are now stadium songs where they're recording them, at least the good bands, I can't overgeneralize, but at least with these 2 bands I saw, it was clear, the songs were made to be played live, right? It was stadium songs. You're just loud and metal and vibration. And it was clear that they planned these songs to play live. So I just found it really interesting because back in the day, that wasn't the case. KG says, I went down to center stage here in Atlanta to see Jeff Tate and Queensryche a couple of years ago. Old rockers there like us, reliving the old days. Dude, if you haven't heard Mastodon, you might have already, but I always feel like the new Mastodon stuff sounds like metal Queensryche. I was just talking about that to somebody here yesterday.
Well, if you listen to a lot of their earlier albums, I mean, they're death grunting. They're doing cookie cutter vocals. But like once you get past like Crack the Sky, it's like they're singing clean basically.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly right. Exactly. That's exactly how I feel. Like the early stuff is like really cool, but they're just kind of like, I mean, you can tell they're super talented musicians, but they're doing just metal stuff.
It's club music basically. It's music for like for like people in small clubs to mosh to. And the later stuff, it's like that's what you're doing when you're playing like a 5,000 man ballroom.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. It really does. Like the last two albums are phenomenal. Like top 10. But the last like 4 or 5 are just phenomenal. So
you know what band I want to see live, and I probably never will. Sleep.
Oh yeah, me too. I'd like to see them.
The last album, The Sciences they put out.
Mm-hmm.
That's just fucking amazing.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of High on Fire. So
I can take him or leave him, to be honest.
Yeah.
But no, it's like in like 2007, 2008, like the year before I moved to the city, Heaven and Hell was on tour, and Heaven and Hell is the classic line of Black Sabbath, but with Ronnie James Dio as a singer instead of Ozzy.
Oh, interesting.
Because after Ozzy quit and went solo, they brought an RJD to sing for a couple albums. And then after that, that's a whole other story. I'm not gonna get into that. So they were playing in the city, and it was like 200. This is like 2007 money, $120 just to see him at Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
Couldn't afford that. But they were playing 2 days later at an arena in Meriden, Connecticut, for $50.
Holy crap!
Same show, same lineup. It was Heaven and Hell with Coheed and Cambria opening. I fourth row from the front. I was close enough to see the sweat on Ronnie James Dio's face. May he rest in peace. my most vivid memory of that is like being like 20 feet away from Tony Iommi, and he's playing his song. And obviously this is a guy who's probably played God knows how many shows over the years, thousands, tens of thousands of shows over the years.
Yeah.
He had a smile on his face.
Yeah, digging it.
I mean, he was just digging. He was probably playing a song that he played. Probably played over 1,000 times over. He could probably literally play it in his sleep.
Yeah. But
you could tell he wasn't bored. He wasn't going through the motions. To him, this is like he was having the time of his life on stage. And I remember thinking, imagine to have that life where every day you have the time of your life doing what you do for a living. And I'm thinking at the time, it's like there's like a lot of these old rock stars. You can tell when they get on stage, they don't really care anymore. I mean, to them, it's just a job. It's like they got bills to pay. They got ex-wives. They got ex-wives. They got kids they got kids with drug habits. They're just like, okay. It's like drug habits. It's like this guy though. You could tell he was doing it for the money. You could tell he was doing it because he loved it.
Yeah. I love hearing that, man. I love that stuff. Yeah, that's how I felt about these bands. I mean, the Gojira group is like they've been around a long time too, but they're younger guys, and I got a lot of respect. Flint kind of inspired me to just I like to learn about the bands and stuff, so I did a little bit of history. Not that much, just Spotify or whatever. But it's really interesting. They started in 1996, so they've been out for a long time. But they started in 96, but they didn't even record their first album until the year 2000. They played for 4 years till they figured out a sound, and then recorded their first album. And then they did 3 or 4 albums or something, and no one had ever heard. Nobody bought that shit. They just kept making albums, and then finally they played 16 years, dude. And finally, from 2000 to 2016, nobody ever heard of them. And then in 2016, they had a record that hit. and they've just been huge ever since. It's crazy, man. I was like, you got like that's a 20 years of complete obscurity, and then finally blowing the fuck up. I'm like, man, I love that shit.
You know, this really strange thing is that we've gotten to the point in our lives, you know, you, Todd, me, Avery, Drew, not you, Dusty, not yet, but you'll get there someday. Where the music you grew up with has become nostalgia tour stuff. I mean, like Billy, you know, it's like Billy Corgan is like making money doing that now. He brought back the classic line of the Pumpkins back together.
Yep.
And they're doing like you know yearly reunion tours. And
they're rocking too.
The problem with being a Gen Xer and reunion tours is that so many of our musical heroes died so young. I mean, like it's like
that's because you know, heroin was big.
Yeah, like
heroin was real big.
If you grew up listening to grunge music in the 90s, you're not gonna have any reunion. There's not gonna be the equivalent of like a farewell tour, because your farewell tour was in 1993 when
that's right. Your farewell tour was
when Lane Staley overdosed, or I mean, or you know, Chris Cornell, may he rest in peace.
You're not wrong.
I mean, all those guys, they just died so young, and then all those, and you know, the Scott Weiland, who I don't know what happened to him. He just went completely off the rails. Yeah. But
drugs, dude. Heroin was huge in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a whole look. All the supermodels. It was called heroin chic.
Yeah. Of course, nowadays all the supermodels are what's the word? Body positive.
Yeah.
Body
positive. We've gone from Kate Moss and heroin chic to Lizzo. On the catwalk.
Well, you know what? Say what you want about Lizzo. At least she's getting paid, right? Which is,
I don't know. I don't understand it.
You're not supposed to.
Lizzo is Star Wars canon now.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Oh yeah.
I don't know anything about her, and so fine, whatever. Is it, you know, whatever.
I don't know. I mean, I think I don't know. I don't know what to believe about Star Wars anymore, man. I mean, apparently they're making another Rey Skywalker movie, or maybe they're not. And apparently they're making.
I hope they do, and I hope it's even worse than the new sequels.
Avery just doesn't care anymore.
I'm just like,
Avery would rather have a really funny 10-minute YouTube video review.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, apparently the Acolyte, whatever it is going to be there, and it's going to be, according to its creator, queer and political. So, I guess you got that going for you, Avery. I'm looking forward to what Doomcock says about it, because it's going
to be terrible.
The last couple Star Wars movies have launched the careers of YouTubers.
Yeah.
That's true. That is not a lie.
They've been so terrible. They've turned people into micro celebrities.
Well, let's think about that. I mean, listen, you got Overlord DVD, which is basically some guy, you know, standing around with wearing a plastic bucket on his head. He's smart about it, because you know what? You know, all that guy has to do is just shoot a whole bunch of stock footage, then splice it in, and then just do a voiceover, and he never has to show his face at all. And then you got the guys from Nerdrotic, who they're basically like that. If you want like a jolt of pure rage, pure nerd, you know, pure like betrayed nerd rage, those are the guys. Then you got Midnight's Edge, who are kind of like, you know, actually serious journalists, more or less. And you know, they do some pretty good. And you know, you can laugh at those guys, but they actually do some pretty good journalism. I mean, they cultivate sources, they protect their sources, They break stories. I mean,
I've abandoned the fandom of almost everything I grew up enjoying. I've walked away from almost all of it because it's all been butchered on purpose.
well, I'm
to
fortunate.
drive me away, so I'm gone.
I'm fortunate in that most of the stuff I'm fans of is so obscure that that the powers that be haven't bothered to corrupt it yet. I mean, I'm rereading all the novels by Raymond Feist now, and he's like he's an old school fantasy novel that no one's heard about. But
I mean the big stuff,
yeah.
the big cultural touchstone things. They've all been ruined. So now I whenever they do something horrible, I take pleasure now in sitting back and watching it burn and laughing.
See, well, here's the thing though that I think we need to remember. Nothing lasts forever. All empires fall. All great dynasties, collapse into their own weight. It's a natural process, which leaves space in the forest for new growth. Star Wars is dying. I hate to say it. It was probably going to die anyway, even if they didn't run it into the ground.
Yeah, but they broke it they deliberately broke it, and won't sell you the original version.
Well,
that's why. Well, I've got the that's why I use the unspecialized editions.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing, though. If it's going away, which means that sooner or later, which means that there's now opportunity. There's now space for new creatives, new ideas, new stories to be told. So
see, this is what I was about to say, man. I think I think this is the best thing to ever happen to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Like to fans, I think to fans and creators, like whether it's someone that just wants to be an audience and consume, or whether it's someone that wants to also take part and create. I think this is a once in a generation. This is not a once in a generation. This has never happened before. Like it's never happened where we now have so many tools, all of the tools. Give it 2 to 5 years, and you'll have a kid in his bedroom be able to make what today costs $150 million to do. Yeah. I've already seen it. Like it's already here. And so I think the time has come to we have the ability to be like, oh, you know what the coolest entertainment is? The entertainment you make.
Well, that's the thing. Remember, because if you go on YouTube now, you can find fan made CGI movies of for Warhammer 40K, or fan movies for video games that use the same engine as the cinematics in those games.
Mm-hmm.
And with AI advancing the way it is, right now AI is already being used to generate text. I've used it. I am using it right now to write stuff. Mm-hmm. It's being used to it's being used to generate photographic level images. So it's only a matter of time before someone takes that and attaches it into computer generated animation. And if once that technology is there, and once it's been trained, you basically train it on every piece of cinema ever written. You don't need like $100 million budget and 1,000-man crew to make a movie anymore.
Oh, I know.
You'll probably like a $10,000 computer and the software, which is not a lot, which is not chump change, but it's doable.
Yeah, totally doable.
And you got a movie, and it'll be just as good as anything made the old-fashioned way with actual actors.
Yep.
And there won't be any of the political nonsense. There won't be any of the gatekeeping. And this will be good for everybody, not just those of us whose political opinions are maybe unacceptable. People are always complaining about how certain minority groups or lifestyle groups or whatever, they're not represented in mainstream entertainment. And partly it's due to prejudice, partly it's due to the fact that some of these groups are so small that the margins just aren't there. Well, if this technology comes along, that won't be a problem anymore, because if your particular group or identity group or whatever isn't being isn't having stuff made for it, you can make stuff yourself.
That's what I mean. Like, and you can do that. It doesn't even matter. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it's not about, you know, race, color, creed, whatever, religion. Like, you're going to have access to everything.
it's like,
And I think that that's a pro and a con, because I do think that opens the door. Like, it's awesome that we're basically at the time where there are no more excuses, but I also think that makes people look in the mirror harder, and that makes it a lot harder to face yourself, right? Like, there's literally everyone with half a brain knows that there's no excuse to. I mean, I mean, you can do anything now. Like, you want to make a movie, you can do it by yourself. Like, I mean, there's almost nothing you can't do. I mean, certainly there's some businesses that you need giant teams and a lot of financial backing, right? But even with that, there are avenues to get it done. It's called venture capital. So there is no excuse anymore. And I think, like, that's a hard reality for people. For some people, I think, you know what I mean? I think for us in Web3 and what the stuff that we're doing, just as a group, as a community, as a whatever you want to call it, a market, space, whatever. Like, I think we don't have that problem because we recognize it, right? Like, everybody kind of comes to Web3 regardless of political affiliation. People seem to come to Web3 because they understand, they have a desire to be free, or they have a desire to tap into a new creative outlet, or they're amazed by the ability of the technology and what it can accomplish. And so I think that really that kind of binds us right now.
well, here's the thing, though. I mean, I'm always, I just, I'm always kind of like a glass half empty kind of guy, as well as a glass half full.
Mm-hmm.
So there are going to be some downsides to this, and I saw this with with the whole self publishing indie writing revolution. In the early 2000s, all of a sudden, it became, like there have always been vanity presses, right?
Mm-hmm.
People selling their books and basically selling them out of the trunks of their cars. But now with Amazon made it possible to publish your own ebooks. And the thing about being able to publish your own ebooks is that anybody can publish. The problem with anybody can publish is that anybody can publish, and like 99% of everything out there is basically shit. No offense to the 99%. So I think with the movies, you might see the same thing. You're gonna, it's not all going to be like the next Scorsese or the next Spielberg, because for every homegrown cinematic genius who cranks out the next masterpiece on his computer, you're going to have a dozen Yui Bowls. Mm-hmm. And if you know who Yui Bowl is, you know what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of the thing that's going to be interesting. You're always going to have that 80-20, right? It's just a bigger 80-20 because there's more people doing it.
Well, also, I have to say, you're also probably going to have a lot of really racist, really sexist, and also, let's be honest, a shit ton of pornography.
Well, there are good things too, of course. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know, but
it's a joke.
Yeah, I know, but just just bear in mind that it's not going to be all wine and roses.
No, of course
adult
not.
fantasy. It's not what you think.
As adult fantasy is exactly what you think.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, because again, I mean, because people, it'll be interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. And I got to be honest, I think right now, the Hollywood writers are on, the Writers Guild in Hollywood's on strike.
Yeah.
Right. I got to wonder though if they're kind of whistling past the graveyard at this point, because in 5 years from now, is it really going to matter?
No, of course not. Like, I mean, I think that's the whole thing, right? Like,
yeah.
I think that's the.
I mean, I think that there still will be movies made the old-fashioned way. There still will be actors going on screen reciting lines,
mm-hmm.
but it's going to be like, I think by the time you and I are old men, Todd and Dusty, by the time you hit your prime, I'm sorry, Dusty. I shouldn't twist you like that. You're like
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Well, and by the time you and I, Todd, you and I are old men, and Dusty, by the time you're like
By the time Dusty hits puberty.
No, by the time Todd and I are rotting away in a retirement home somewhere, ignored by our kids, and Dusty's the next Elon Musk.
You mean a week from today?
Something like that, yeah. There still will be movies made the old-fashioned way, but it'll be like live-action theater. It'll essentially be a legacy art that's restricted to a few places. Like, for example, you only really see musicals nowadays on Broadway, or maybe their occasional touring, maybe the occasional touring show, or like your local community theater. It won't be like what it was, because like back in the old days before the movies came along, every town had a theater, and that's where people would go to have fun. Now it's now outside of a few big cities, they've all been turned into condos.
Yeah. I just feel like it's a really amazing time, and it's really crazy that we're here to see it all.
And Dusty, by the way, when you become a billionaire, I fully intend to blackmail you. Just letting you know.
I have no idea who you are.
I don't know.
You remember that time that you and I met in the dressing room?
Oh, no.
If you don't remember it, I'll write a book about it in 30 years.
No.
Oh.
Thank you, Dusty.
Did you where do you know? There we go. Anyway, so
we need some more sounds like an or
oh no.
I have talked a total of 3 times in this entire live stream, and one of them got me kicked.
Well,
dude, I'm good.
You are.
I am good.
You know exactly what to say to get booted.
Hey, a slight side note. This app is really cool because you can pair it with your phone, and your phone is now your soundboard.
That's cool.
I gotta say it. It sounds really. However, you're piping it through StreamYard, it actually sounds really clean.
Yeah, it does.
Cool. I'm gonna look for other sounds for future episodes.
Yeah. So, hey Drew, can I ask you a comic related question?
Sure.
Is Dynamite still around?
Yes.
And that's all I needed to know. I was just wondering if they went out of business. If they're about to go out of business too.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
No. The big one and the big news is IDW. IDW is the one struggling.
They're all going to go out of business, man.
Well,
they're all going to go out of business. I would be shocked if any of them survive.
Oh.
I don't see how some of them make any money, dude. Some of the smaller publishers, I don't see how they make any money.
No, I have no idea. I really don't know how they do it.
Because making a book is expensive. Like, dude, they must be paying their people next to nothing.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it.
Well, I mean, I just don't understand why the comic book industry can't figure out a way to do digital distribution.
They don't want to. They don't want to figure it out. They're locked in the way they do things, and anything else is heresy. And if you try to change their minds or change the way they do things, they will freaking lose their shit.
Well, wouldn't that then lead them by the logic of capitalism and free enterprise, even opening for a comic book publisher willing to buck the trend to like steal that market? If they can figure out
you have to remember that the largest distributor for many moons was Diamond, and their biggest customers were comic book stores. There's no way they're going to promote digital comics and kill their own customer base. It's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So It's one of the reasons why digital comics have always been kind of on the back burner and have always been low quality. There's always been big, huge complaints about the cost, what you actually get, you know.
I mean, it's just, why not just send the people a freaking PDF?
Because that hurts retailers, that hurts comic book stores, and the biggest distributor of comics is not going to do that.
No, but I'm thinking maybe a publisher that isn't like a new publisher starting up. That can, maybe they don't have the marketing budget, but if they can put together a fan base, and they say, listen, listen, online only, pay us direct, we'll send you a PDF.
No, well, NFTs and Web3 are going to change all of this because for the first time you have ownership over something digital and resell rights and royalties.
Or online only, buy the NFT and resell it.
It's coming.
It's coming, and they're already fighting it, even though some of them are jumping on board. But there's parts of them that are still fighting it. They hate NFTs. They hate anything digital. They hate independents who crowdfund.
Yeah.
To sell their books and sell.
What they? So
Any
what?
more requests?
So what? So basically, like someone like your boy Zach, who's or Richard Rodriguez, who's crowdfunding on Indiegogo. He's taking flag from pros working at Marvel just as a matter of principle, not just because of his politics.
Yeah, because they're douchebags. First off, these people aren't capitalists. Find somebody in the mainstream comic book industry that's actually a capitalist. You won't. They drove all those people out a decade ago.
Yeah, that is true. I can't argue that. That is actually fairly accurate.
Well, it's funny because I was reading Mark Howie's biography of Marvel. He wrote a book about Marvel. The story of Marvel from the 30s right up to the early 2000s. And I remember reading the era during the 70s when Marvel Comics really was on the verge of just shutting down forever. This is before Jim Shooter took over, and it was kind of the same thing. They were just doing what they weren't doing anything to actually make money. They were just doing whatever the hell they wanted, and it led to some very weird comics and some very good comics, but nothing was selling. Nothing was, they were blowing deadlines left and right. The printer wasn't getting paid. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until like Jim Shooter took over and basically like brought order to chaos that Marvel pulled back from the brink. At least that's the narrative. I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah, but now they would never allow someone like Jim Shooter in the door.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I saw him at MegaCon. Yeah, and that's again, that's a lifer right there.
Yeah, you're these current writers and editors at Marvel literally say things like they don't care if they only sell 10,000 copies of a mainstream Marvel book, as long as it's to the right 10,000 people.
Yeah,
who's the right audience for a Spider-Man comic when we were kids? Any kid with 75 cents.
Anyone that had the money.
They wanted any kid with 75 cents to $1 to buy that book.
Now I think now it's purple-haired hipster in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's all they want. They don't realize that that's like maybe 50,000 people on a big selling book.
Well, no, they do. No. They do realize it. They just don't. I mean,
they don't care.
They don't care. Like, it's not. There's no harm in them doing it to themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't. At least the people that I knew, like, they didn't really have the foresight to say, hey, if we do this, sales might drop and then we might lose our job. That wasn't really the thought pattern. The thought pattern was we have a platform and we have an obligation to use that platform to get our message out or my belief out. right?
Yeah.
And whether, I mean, you know, from my perspective is like, I don't, whether you agree with the perspective or not, to me it was always irrelevant, because with somewhat of a business background, I'm just like, you guys are killing this company. Like you're actually going to lose your job. You're gonna, like, you're ending your job. Like there's not enough people in the marketplace. At the end of the day, comics is escapism. Movies is supposed to be escapism. Like, you know, and certainly there's all types of people, and I don't want to overgeneralize, but most people don't want to be like preached to when they read a comic or watch a TV show or watch a movie. They just want to chill out and relax, and like, probably, you know, nowadays just like watch something cool before they go to bed. Like, you know, it's amazing, and to see it's kind of like this, you know, blinders onto it drives me nuts. But it's also a gift. Like, you know, I'm also extremely thankful that these companies like Disney's losing subscribers left and right. You know what I mean? Now they're still making like $2 billion a month or something ridiculous. You know, like they're not in any danger of going away. But they're losing subscribers and they're losing supporters, and their key properties are starting to fade. And these are things that lasted damn near 100 years. So it's like, you know, it's a golden opportunity to actually, I don't want to say do it the way it should be done, because that's a little cocky, but do it the way in which, you know, represent the idea of entertainment in the way that we all think it should be, which is, you know, made by fans for fans kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like all the Web3 games, all like, and that's one thing I gotta say, man. Like, at least for the most part, I mean, there's always 80-20 rule, but like, at least for the projects that we know and the projects we hang out with, and, you know, like, shameless plug, there's people that are coming to Web3 Comic Con and all that. Like it doesn't matter whether they're comic related or game related, or they're making software for the space, or something else. Like, everybody has that passion, that creator passion, and it's all supported. The community is involved so much. I mean, just to call it a community, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost a cliche that every project has a community, but you don't really talk about that with most Web 2.0 software companies. You know, you talk about customers, you might talk about prospects, customers, leads, right? But you don't talk about an actual group that has influence on what it is that is being built and is integral to the thing being built.
Yeah,
that's a very new concept.
Yeah, actually listening to them, be like, hey, what do you want?
Right?
What would you like to see? And actually communicating with them daily.
Right.
Like, you and Dusty are talking to them every day.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just a little bit, every day.
Every day. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing.
I come in there a couple of times a week, say what's up, see what's going on.
Yeah, and there's no, like, it never had, like, I mean, that's completely a new approach. You know what I mean? Not that, like, Dusty and I and AF has invented it or anything. It's a Web3 thing. But, like, when in any other medium, film, television, comics, software, you name it, like, whenever has the actual team been super open and been like, hey, we're here. Hey, every day. What's up, guys? Yeah,
that is happening too in independent comics who crowdfund.
Of course, that's the tide across all of culture.
Yeah, they talk to their fan base every day, and show them stuff, or just hang out with them every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love it.
Isn't that what Twitter and Facebook and Instagram were supposed to be for?
Partly.
And they still are.
They still are. It's just now, if you're a creator, they want to make you pay to get your audience who follows you to see you. Especially Instagram and Facebook, they're real bad. Like, they will not show your stuff. Even people that click like, people that click follow won't see your shit anymore.
Yeah, well, that's why they're in trouble. They don't know. They know they're in trouble. You know.
Right.
Eventually, that's just going to come crashing down.
They'll sure as shit show me dog food ads for a dog I don't have just because I said something about a dog.
Well, based on your geographic location, one could assume that you eat dog food for.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, it was bad when I worked at PetSmart, dude. The pet ads stuff I used to get.
Well, yeah. Well, you worked at PetSmart. I bet it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's really funny. You're getting punished for working at PetSmart.
Yeah. Dude, the pet food ads and the ads, like, I just spent an entire shift looking at all this shit. I know what these brands are.
Let me put it to you this way: when I was a lot younger, I got work for a few years at Stu Leonard's. It's this big supermarket and chain in New England. I was up there. After working in the produce section, I would not eat fruit for like 3 years because I saw what was going on in the back room. It's like, once you see how the sausage is made, or how the strawberries are buffed after they've gone furry.
Oh yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
hot.
Or that one time I picked up a crate of melons, and no shit, they literally liquefied in my hands.
So weird.
Yeah, I became whatever the opposite of a vegan is.
Oh, that's awesome. I was the janitor at a PetSmart, dude, and it was terrible. So many people.
I feel so bad I helped him get that job.
Dude, people's dog would take a shit and they would just drag their dog out and they wouldn't turn around to like look at why their dog was dragging. They would just it's like, your dog just took a shit. Your dog just shit on the floor. And they just would not turn around, just like lock their neck forward and walking and just dragging the dog.
Oh.
Well, I needed a job at the time, man. You don't have anything to feel bad about.
I know. We had good times afterwards.
I don't want to know.
We went to lunch every Sunday. It was always
that was the Chinese place, right?
Yeah. That Chinese place is still open.
Oh, yeah.
It's been there since we were in high school.
Oh yeah, still serving the same food from then too.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good most of the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd go there and it'd be a little off. I like that Albanian chick that used to work there as a hostess.
Oh yeah, she was cute.
Yeah, she was cute. I liked her.
Where is this conversation heading?
I'm just saying.
Get ready to kick us.
Oh,
no. I just kind of like Slavic girls. Just saying.
Right,
Slavic girls.
Slavic.
I gotta jet now. 15 minutes. I gotta be up at 5 tomorrow. I'm hitting the water again, to chasing them reds.
Communists?
No, redfish.
Oh,
red drum. The what can I say? When I was in New York, I went to the beach once in 7 years. I've been down in Florida for 4 years, and I've turned into a fishing fanatic.
That's awesome, man.
When you said chasing reds, I just pictured Liberty Prime.
You were just thinking Red Dawn.
Yeah, Wolverines.
One of the best movies ever made.
Which one, the original or the remake?
The original, come on.
The original, man, not the remake. Come on.
Yeah, the remake didn't make any sense. How would North Korea invade the United States?
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, Oh.
Dude, one of the when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, one of the radio stations on there has a commercial in it. It's like the documentary film Red Dawn.
I remember that. Yeah.
Documentary film? What?
Yes. There's a commercial for Red Dawn on the soundtrack on one of the radio stations of Grand Theft Auto 3 that talks about Red Dawn as a documentary.
That's hilarious.
There. I think GTA 6 is coming out.
Yeah.
I've heard disturbing things.
I don't, dude. I'm really. I have spent a lot of hours playing Grand Theft Auto 5. I really enjoy playing it, the online, but they hurt my heart so bad with Red Dead Redemption, with how they treated and then abandoned Red Dead Redemption Online, that I don't know if I'll go back to ever play a Rockstar game again, because that Red Dead Online was so underdeveloped from what it could be.
What happened? I don't know the story.
They abandoned it. No more new updates. They just basically abandoned Red Dead Online. You can still play Red Dead Redemption Online, but it doesn't have a completion to the main story for it. And it doesn't it's not getting any more significant updates. So there's tons of potential of things they could do to really flesh it out that will just never happen. So,
Rockstar Games is known to be a really, really, really awful place to work for a programmer. But that's true really of any like big video game company, because I've known programmers, who've worked in that. They don't last very long. I mean, basically, it's like you go there, you work for a few years, you make a shit ton of money, and then you either get out before you have a breakdown, or you end up like killing yourself.
Yeah, because the campaign, the main story part for Red Dead Redemption is phenomenal. One of the absolute best video games you will ever play, and the potential for the Red Dead Online is huge. It's massive. It could be the most incredible multiplayer thing ever, because it's so beautiful. There's so much space to run around and do. And some of what's there, if you just have one other friend to play with, it's a hell of a lot of fun. But you'll go through it fairly quickly.
Right.
And be sick of it within a couple of months. And just be like, where's something new? Oh, wait, there's not going to be anything new. You're not going to get a new update this year or next year.
That's why I stick to strategy games like Crusader Kings or Bannerlord. Plus those games are modded out the wazoo.
Plus they're modded out of the wazoo? Is that what you said?
No. Mountain Blade Bannerlord. It's basically it's a medieval fighting game, but it's notable because it has a really extensive modding community. So you can basically like pretty much design your own game around the core install. So yeah, look, I mean, I like GTA 3 fine, 4, 5 fine, just fine, but and the problem is that I'm primarily a PC gamer, and I don't want.
Those games need to be played on console because of the modding. Like, not that you don't have modders and cheaters in there on console, but it's a little bit better. It's like there's less of it.
Well, also the fact I don't think it's still really hard to get a. If you want to buy a console, it's still hard to get. There's still shortages of chips and all that. Yeah. Anyway. Oh.
Awesome.
I love Red Dead Redemption, but they slaughtered it. That game, the potential, because riding around in a posse with friends doing some of the online stuff is really, some of it's really good. Like, it's fun. It's really, really good, but it's way underdeveloped.
Yeah. Well, I kind of felt like that with Cyberpunk 2077, right?
Oh yeah, that was I heard that was a colossal clusterfuck.
Well, no,
Yeah, people were waiting for that game. That could have been the biggest game of all time.
It could have been huge.
People were waiting and waiting. Like that was.
What's so bad about that is they published that completely broken.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just a lot of people just couldn't even get it to work at all.
Yeah.
It's working now, but only after like I don't know how many patches and updates.
Yeah, total clusterfuck. Like at that point, just hold off on it and make it perfect, and then release it whenever it's ready.
Well, that's actually like a trend in a lot of games now. Is that
yeah.
Is that they release straight to beta and just fix it on the fly.
Bethesda did that with Fallout 76. I mean, I was kind of like, hey, somebody, an MMO I might play on, oh wait, came out, it was a turd, so I've never played it.
Well, Tail Worlds, when they put out Mountain Blade Bannerlord, it was in beta for almost 3 years, which to me was a bit excessive. But I think that's the problem with that's one of the problems with using Steam to as a portal for your games is that it kind of encourages that sort of thing. The way I see, if you're gonna put something out to beta, you should only really be out there for like at most a year. And anything beyond that, you should still be in development.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
And it should say it's a beta. Don't put it out in charge of, these people. They put out a game. It's supposed to be a AAA game because it's from a studio like Bethesda or CD Projekt Red, and they charge you AAA price for a game, and then it's a broken piece of shit that's basically a beta.
Yeah.
That's awful. On top of then they'll put in microtransactions, which is even worse in a AAA game. Free-to-play game, fine. AAA title, microtransactions is bullshit. I hate it.
Yay! Huh?
That's pretty ridiculous that you're going to pay for a AAA game and then have to pay for microtransactions.
Yeah.
Little pay to wins.
Yeah, and it's becoming like that more and more. It's like I paid full price $60, $70 for this game. I understand paying more even later for DLC. I'm willing to do that. But don't put in this little nickel and dime me to death on top of paying full price.
Yeah, that's a little batshit.
But there's more and more of it.
NFTs are going to change that. You'll be able to sell your revolver you got in Red Dead Redemption, and they'll take their 5%.
Yep.
That could be cool.
That's 100%, man. It's we talk a lot about the space, but I think one of the reasons we talk about it so much is because of how obvious it's going to be, how everything is changing. Like it's obviously changing. And I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great way. And I'm a little, I mean, this is the other thing I'll say, and this is a little bit of age. And Avery and Andrew and Zach will specifically note about this. We're in the spot right now where like NFTs and Web3 is the bastard child, right? Where even the governments, a lot of the governments are like, oh, this is bad, right?
Oh yeah, they're scared of it. Absolutely,
they're totally scared of it. And I'm like, well, they're scared of it, but they're trying to shut it down and all this kind of shit. And there's always the push from the people in the space to get accepted, be accepting, right? Now, certainly we need a little bit of acceptance because we really should have some regulations and some laws in place so that we can make sure that we're not breaking the law. But outside of that, I don't want any. I want to stay the bastard child. Like you do not want mass adoption. I mean, everyone. This is the problem. Like everyone thinks mass adoption is always good, and I'm like, no, it's not. Like mass adoption in comics. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like Avery and Andrew know this. For 30 years, our entire generation was nothing but like, oh, when will be accepted by the mainstream and movies and all that? When will they accept how brilliant this medium is? And it never comes the way you think. They're never going to see it the same way that you do.
No.
Right. And so that happened and it wrecked everything. Like Marvel's dead, DC's dead. It's all gone because it got bought up and eaten up and chewed up and bastardized and squeezed like a grape. And then you see the same thing that's going through that with weed right now, where for years, I mean, ever since I was in school anyway, people were like, man, legalize it. It really deserves legal. And I'm like, no, man, you don't want to do that. Like, as the minute it's legal, it gets regulated and it's going to get expensive or it's going to get we're in the golden period right now. So for people that smoke, like they're like, oh, I can get it and it's really good quality and all that. I promise you just wait and give it 10 years and it'll be like smoking cigarettes. You'll have a tiny little strand of weed in there and some tobacco and you won't be getting shit. And it'll have a million chemicals in it because the giant corporations, the companies are not going to, they're going to pack it full of filler. Like, and they're going to make what you actually like either impossible to get or illegal again. Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Well, Todd, I went through this, like 20 years ago with Dungeons and Dragons and in the fantasy genre in general. I mean, look, when I was in high school in the 90s, I'm just old enough to have been around when D&D was still considered kind of an underground thing. Mm-hmm. If you played that game, you did not admit it out loud because you would get every jock in the school beat the crap out of you as a matter of principle.
Sure.
And also, like the religious fundamentalists would think you were a Satanist.
Right. And
then by the time by 2010, all of a sudden nerd culture is now mainstream, which means D&D is now mainstream.
Right.
And all the things about D&D that I liked, we're kind of being pushed aside because now it was part of the world, and it turns out that a lot of the mainstream people, i.e., didn't like a lot of the weird stuff about it. Like, oh, this is sexist. Oh, this is racist. Yada yada yada. And now you look at it and it's like, I don't recognize the game anymore. Mm-hmm. Or I remember one if you were into Tolkien, that was kind of a thing. That was like a real subculture. If you like J.R.R. Tolkien, you liked J.R.R. Tolkien. I mean, you could, which means that you could speak Elvish basically.
Right.
And now it's like, well, now it's mainstream. And what do we have to show for it? The ring of power. God help us. So it doesn't matter. So it's like you're right. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's comic books, marijuana, Dungeons and Dragons, or
keep your hobbies.
If you got something precious, keep it to your goddamn self. It's like in the city. When we live in any big city, like in New York, Chicago, wherever, if you find like some secret, some really cool spot where something really awesome happens, you don't say shit to anybody about it, except maybe your closest friends, because otherwise the whole world will get hip to it and it'll be ruined.
Yeah. No, you're not. You are 100% correct.
I mean, although on the other hand, though, as someone who's been trying and failing to sell books for the last 20 years, I wouldn't mind having a bestseller.
Well, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with success.
I wouldn't mind having so much.
Success is good.
I wouldn't mind having so much having being so rich that I have to pay people to hold up my pockets because they're so full of money. As to quote the late great Terry Pratchett.
Hey man, when comics were considered nerd stuff and for nerds, some of those dudes were becoming millionaires.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I mean, well, that's the thing. I mean, you got to wonder though, because everybody, whenever you talk about, when comics became cool, everybody always, at least from people my generation, we always think of like the late '80s, early '90s boom, which when you look back on it was basically a like a collector's bubble. People like buying whole crates because whole crates of number ones. And you remember thinking about, people like, you read stories about someone like Rob Liefeld, living in a Southern California mansion with a Lamborghini and an NFL cheerleader girlfriend. But when you look on it now, you realize that was kind of an aberration.
Mm-hmm.
That could not last. That was like,
no, yeah, that couldn't last. But still selling. I mean, because when Todd McFarlane walked away from Spawn, he walked away from $1 million contract. They were going to pay him $1 million to draw Spawn for 5 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, but the thing is, McFarlane was always
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, McFarlane was always like a really smart businessman, which you can't really say for a lot of artists.
And the royalties were good back then, because when a comic came out, they'd get their page rate, and if you were on one of the top selling books, all those hundreds of thousands they sold after that, they got a piece.
Yep.
So you drew X-Men, you wanted to be on X-Men not just for the page rate, but for those royalties. Because because that would probably sometimes be more than what you got paid to draw it.
Yeah, I always felt kind of sad. I always felt kind of bad for Chris Claremont. Because, he probably more than anyone was responsible for like shaping the image that we have of the X-Men.
Yes.
But here's the thing: he wasn't an artist, though. He was a writer.
Yeah.
So once he was off the book, I mean, what was he going to do?
So, you know what? When he left the book is not long after I stopped buying it, because it didn't take long when I would read X-Men after Claremont left. I was like, the characters didn't sound right in my head when I read it. Like how I imagined Rogue sounded, how I imagined Storm sounded, how I imagined Wolverine sounded, did not sound right when I would read the dialogue. Like something was off. And I eventually just stopped reading it, and then not long after that I stopped buying it. Because I liked those big soap opera stories he used to do, and I loved a lot of the artists. And the book fell hard after him.
It really did. Yeah, it really did. I mean, and to be completely honest, it also shows like a lot with John Byrne's revisioning or whatever. It's like, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's great, it's good, but you're not making Chris Claremont look bad.
Yeah.
So
he doesn't understand it wasn't just him. It was him and Claremont that was special.
Yeah.
It was him and the same with Claremont and Silvestri and Paul Smith and John Romita Jr. and Jim Lee. It's and.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, those days are gone now. I mean, now, now, basically, now, like, well, if you follow your boy Zach, which I do, I haven't watched any of his videos in a while, but I like, he still posts stuff, and recently it's all about, all these, woke writers and artists at Marvel sort of suddenly finding themselves, hey, wait a minute, I just lost my job. What am I going to do now? No one wants to hire me.
Well, that's what we were just talking about. Like,
yeah.
Like you're pushing your own job, you're pushing your own future out. Like you're just going to be homeless because no one's going to hire you because the entire industry is going to collapse because of what you're doing, which is pushing people away. Like people like me, like this is when all this crap started. And I mean, back even at Marvel, I was telling them this. I was like, you guys, like, I mean, granted, it wasn't as bad when I was there as it is now, but like I'm at the age now where I basically can buy anything I want, right? Like, and I'm not talking about Rolexes and Lambos. I'm talking about comic books. Like, there is nothing in the medium really. I mean, like, you know, obviously some original art, you know, whatever. But in terms of the stuff that the companies produce on a regular recurring basis, I could buy all of it. I could buy as much of it as I want. You know what I mean? And I do with like original, like the artist editions and things like that. But they made a critical mistake when they said we're going to, when they whether knowingly or not, and I know for a fact it was knowingly, but we'll just say knowingly or not, push their core audience away. What they forgot to realize was that their core audience, because they were always like, oh well, they're old and they're older white dudes or whatever, they're older people, older men mostly, and we need the young crowd. And so they made this mistake of like pushing those older people away like me, not thinking or not caring that like, yo, older people like me are the ones that have kids, right? And we each have two kids. You could have doubled the industry size just having your audience grow up and having their kids, like having those fans take their kids to the comic shop, right? But I won't do it. It'll never happen.
Well, that's the thing about it. That's kind of a problem with a lot of corporations in general nowadays. They can't think long term. They don't want to think long term. They never think. They don't think past the next quarter.
Right.
You know. So like, you know, so what you're describing is like you're talking about, you know, the next, you know, your customer is 20 years out. Well, Disney doesn't care about that. They care about, you know, getting their stock price up, you know, next quarter. So that's so the CEO gets his bonus.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I think I could, you know, I guess you could make the argument that maybe one of the reasons why a lot of the like DC and Marvel got into this mess is because they were taken over. Well, actually, DC has been owned by Warner since the 70s, but you know, the fact that they were taken over by corporations and who basically who saw them not as, you basically saw them as money cows to be milked until they're dry, without realizing that, you know, you actually have to feed the cow.
Right. Yeah, 100%. You know, it just blows my mind. It's one of those things where I'll never understand it, but I'm also thankful for it because it's given us an opportunity to do something. So,
well, listen, I got to get to bed in a few minutes. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We should call it, man. I think this is a great. It's been a great stream. Pretty chill, which is nice. What do you guys think?
Yay!
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 All right.
Everyone.
I'm just.
That's it, guys. All that enthusiasm.
Yay! Back to Lost Pages 3 on Indiegogo and
there you go.
Raid of the White Leopard on Fund My Comic.
That's right. Web3comiccon.com coming in August. Go check it out. We're working on the site now, and we're getting all the people ready. It's gonna be good. All right, everybody. Love you all. Take care. God bless, and peace out.